Hi, my name's Emma, and let's talk spooky stuff. We all know why we're here today, or why I'm here today. I'm here to admit something to you. You've seen the title. I have never seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. This is a cult classic, I think. It's definitely a reference I see in a lot of horror forums. I see a lot of fan art of this film, a lot of cosplay. This is a movie that really has turned into a cult favorite, whether people love it or hate it within the horror community. And if this is the first video you've ever seen by me, hi, my name is Emma, also known as Spooky Astronauts Online. I do 2 videos every single week talking about horror movies and thriller movies, and somehow I have been doing this for 6 years and I've never been asked about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I've got through 31 years of my life and X amount of years of this film's life without having any spoilers as well, which is quite rare. So today I'm gonna just dive in. We're gonna do a come chill with me, and I'm gonna discover this movie and let you know my true thoughts, which is quite scary because the Halloween franchise and the Halloween franchise film fanatics are pretty terrifying online. So please give me some props. Please be nice. This video was inspired by another video I did a couple months ago where I talked about The Exorcist 3 and how I'd never seen it before and gave you a come chill with me reaction. So I'm so excited to finally check out this film and see what all the fuss is about. I don't think anyone has seen all of the cult classics, nor every horror movie ever. I think that's impossible. And I do think there's something to be said about people shaming others for not seeing some classics. And I think this video is kind of celebrating that. We haven't all seen the classics. So please let me know in the comments down below, what is a classic film that you haven't seen? In the last one I did, I saw a lot of people say they hadn't seen films like Jaws or even The Exorcist. For me, it's really important that we celebrate horror and loving horror without shaming others. So be sure to leave what films you haven't seen in the comments down below. But without further ado, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna go upstairs and we're gonna watch Halloween Season of the Witch for the first time ever. I'm a little bit scared. What if I hate it? Ah! Let's go. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is from 1982 and it was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the production designer and editor of the original Halloween film. He also played Michael Myers during the famous closet scene, which I think is probably my favorite scene in the original film. Season of the Witch is the first film he directed, and after this he mostly did TV shows such as the 80s version of Twilight Zone, but he also directed the original It miniseries and he starred as Ghost in The Fog. And look who's here again, Gromit! If you guys didn't know, this is my greyhound. Gromit! Say hello, Groms. I know a lot of you guys love him, but unfortunately, he is not a fan of horror movies. He sleeps through the whole thing every time. In fact, he does that with every movie. And also, I do want to clear up something because I have seen the comments in my last few videos that I filmed sitting here. There's a shadow right there. It's just from my plants. Lots of people think it's a ghost, so don't freak out. I have to say, I did peek at one thing. I don't know the story or any of that. I do know that there's like the 3 characters, or is there 2 characters, 1 shamrock. I know that kind of stuff, but I had no idea until I looked this movie up on IMDb today that it has a 5 out of 10 rating from 40,000 reviews. I thought that people loved this film. I'm getting a little bit worried. It's the same thing that happened with Exorcist 3. A lot of people told me that they loved it, it was so good, and then I watched it. So I guess there's nothing left to say. Let's just watch the darn film. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but let's watch Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Well, that was anticlimactic. I just finished Halloween Season of the Witch. Robots? Stonehenge? Really? What the heck was going on in that film? What a weird journey. I will get into spoilers. I know not everyone has seen these films, so just a spoiler alert, but I'm going to get into them because I have to talk about some weird ass aspects that are going on, and I really want to get into the nitty gritty, and I assume a lot of people have seen this one by now. Halloween Season of the Witch follows Daniel and Ellie, who team up together as a strange, unlikely, but sexually charged duo to try and figure out who murdered Ellie's dad and what it's got to do with the American Silver Shamrock masks. The film takes us to this small town of Irish descent where I don't know if there was any Irish people. And to the factory where these masks are made. The thing about this film that I understand is it's the aesthetic. It's all the aesthetic. It's the masks that really sell the film and give people who are watching it some satisfaction, some horror, like spooky nostalgia vibes. I totally understand that, and I agree, especially along with the song that is London Bridge, if anyone realized that. Anyway, the film was nuts. It was so all over the place. And it has some really mixed messaging because of the masks. I think that, again, the aesthetic of the masks were awesome, and there were some really cool gore scenes and setups that had a lot to do with the masks. But in turn, the masks and the factory in the film really are a comment on consumerism in America, and for that, people buying the masks as a novelty for the bad film are really still adding to consumerism. So it kind of knocks itself out, if that makes sense. The funniest thing about this film is how sidetracked it gets so quickly, and it's the main characters doing the sidetracking as well. At one point, they're like, let's go to the factory and figure out what's going on. And then he's like, what's the rush?
We'll go directly to the factory. We'll
Whoa,
find out
hold
exactly
on, slow down. It's getting late. I could use a drink. Let's take our time.
It's only murder. It's only your father. None of it actually makes sense. And especially the sexual interaction between them. It's straight away and odd, and he's just smooching the whole town. Let's just say that. She literally says the line, where do you want to sleep?
Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice?
And it's just so cringy, and the sex scene, or I guess the leading into sex scene, the soft scene, it's just not really fitting with the rest of the film, which is about these masks. So as the story goes on, we find out the masks have these little tiny badges on the back of them, which have pieces of the Stonehenge in them. What? And I swear this is just my interpretation. I have not looked this up, but they get hypnotized or activated when the TV commercial comes on, which I don't know how they figured out how the TV commercial can activate the Stonehenge magical witchcraft, but that's that's beyond me. You know, in turn it causes people's heads to explode. But there's also androids. I did read that the film had a cameo from Jamie Lee Curtis, and that was interesting because I heard her when she came onto the telephone. I believe she did the telephone message, but let me know if that's correct. The thing about this film is it's so strange because it's a Halloween film, but it's not connected at all. But also within the film, Halloween, the film exists. So it's not really in the same universe, even though it's Halloween 3. It should have really just been a separate movie because it has nothing to do with it, but it also features the movie. There's a lot of filmmakers who reference their work within their work, you know what I mean? And I felt like that's what was happening because it was on the TV, and how can it exist as Halloween 3 if Halloween is a movie within Halloween 3? I'm thinking way too hard about this, aren't I? As I said before, I like the masks, I like the aesthetic, I like the song. It's catchy, it's annoying, but my favorite part was definitely the gore, and when that woman's face got like ripped, it was so creepy. And the bugs, what has the bugs got to do with anything? There's a lot of strange aspects in this film, and I think probably the strangest bit was the very end. He calls, I don't know where, someone to tell them to take this advert or competition that, you know, is going to activate the masks off TV. But how is he telling them to take it off every single channel? I don't know how to say this, but unless he's calling the electricity company to tell them to turn off the electricity, there's no way for them to unplug every station at the same time. They all control their own networks. So he's like, turn it off on channel 1. Now turn it off. It's still playing on the other channel now. Who is he talking to? Some Bob is just like pulling out wires in some random factory. Anyway, That part was beyond me, but the whole thing was really beyond me, to be honest. I was not expecting that. I did love some aspects. I really did. I thought the masks were really cool, and I wish they would have just kept it to the masks instead of the androids and whatever was going on there. And also the weird sexual tension, or I guess just sexual aspects that had nothing to do with anything, especially because this film is almost anti-children, trying to kill off all these kids, and then they're trying to procreate in the process. Like, this is such a contradictory film. It's pretty funny, and I am glad I watched it, but I understand why it's got its rating. There's some kitschy, fun aspects, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it is a kind of a boring film that has some strange moments that make you double take. If Halloween 3 was a meme, it would be this guy, for sure. I did read that this one did really bad on Rotten Tomatoes, or Tomatoes, depending where you live. Unfortunately, I'm a Rotten Tomatoes critic, so I'm going to give my score and it's going to add to that. So I'm sorry, Halloween 3. You were fun, not really, but you had some cool aspects, and maybe this is a film that really actually should be remade, because how cool if they took those masks, upgraded them, and made it, you know, that core story instead of having the androids and the Stonehenge. I do think that they had something, because it really plays into that fear of almost like the spiked candy, you know, like the candy with the razor blades on Halloween. It really plays into that and shows, like, you know, a controlling of kids through that. And I think in consumerism, I mean, that's alive more than ever. It's just so funny that this film is not great, but the marketing of the masks, which is the whole point of the film, and like the villains, has translated into real life, and they've sold those masks, and they've sold a lot of merchandise through that. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so I'm gonna give this one, I'm going between a 4 and a 5. I get the 5, I really do, but it's... You know what? Actually, I'm going to give it a 5. I am going to give it a 5 out of 10. Like I said, the gore was good. I thought it was a little bit boring in between. Some of the scenes just didn't have to be there. And the whole setup between him being the doctor and his friend in the lab that he smooches and leaves her, like, none of it really mattered. It was just add-ons to try and kill people off along the way. So I think the setup change would have, like, made this film a lot more entertaining and thrilling, where it was just kind of like a weird drama romance with some horror aspects thrown at it, and they're just trying to see whatever sticks. I would love to see this film remade. For originality, I'm going to give it a 4. For scare, I'm going to give it a 4. I also have to say, how funny was the fire graphics at the end. It was too much. And then the glitches at the start, obviously it links back into the TV, but it took a long time for me to figure out why the glitches were even in there. Aesthetic, it gets an 8. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your raw, don't hold back your thoughts on Halloween 3. I know that it's probably quite attached to people's childhood and nostalgia and growing up, and that's why a lot of people love it, which is why it's always interesting to look at these kind of films from a different perspective at a different age. And yeah, it's just interesting, and I hope you found it interesting too. I'm sorry if I disappointed anyone. To be honest, I was disappointed too. And I hope you're having a great day. If you do like my videos, make sure to give them a thumbs up. It does really help me out. And I'll talk to you very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky.